In Depp's second witness statement, paragraph 36 does show Depp admitting to drinking prior to the flight and presents text messages to his sister, Christy Dombrowski, saying her actions added more drama than necessary. This suggests a breakup. It shows why he's reacted like this. Christy had let him know that she agreed with Amber Heard he should see a doctor. After his response, Amber Heard had copied a message to him verbatim to Christy, and it reads, "There are so many things to say. I feel like there aren't enough words in the world to articulate what I want to say to you. All I can say that I am heartbroken. My whole world has come crashing down on me. I feel so lost. But I know this. I love you more than I have loved anything. I know that you are my life's true love. The fact remains that I can't imagine life without you. And the inescapable truth is being with you has been the best thing to happen to my life. But only you have the ability to take that away from me, from both of us. I know you have a sickness. I know you are suffering. Johnny, I would do anything to be able to take that away from you. For if only I could. I love you. You are my Steve, but there's this other part of you, a shadow that exists in that hole that you understandably try desperately to treat, fix, and feel that, and that's the part." 25th of May 2015, 2 years after his detox and recovery, on the 7th of September 2016, after the divorce settlement was finalized, Depp messages Erin Boram, which is now Erin Farladi, and says he was very high when making the movie. Now, I love timelines, so let's make one. Flashback to 2014, 10 days before the plane incident, filming for Black Mass had started. More likely than not, on the 15th of May 2014, on the 20th of May, Amber visits Depp on set and also dressed very conservatively. Put a pin on that. Kenan Wyatt was also on the plane, as he claims, who says that Amber, Depp, Stephen, Savannah, and Jerry George was also on the plane. Stephen Dutus, who never testified in VA, however, was testifying in the UK. His witness statement says that he had witnessed Amber getting increasingly aggressive towards Depp and haranguing him, who was pretty much drawing, as he always does. He submitted a drawing of the scene plan from his vantage point and asserts it would not be possible for Depp to have been kicking Amber Heard like she has claimed, nor had pushed the chair as described, as the chairs were affixed to the plane. He further said that Jerry George pulled Amber to the side as Amber regularly lost her temper during cross-examinations. Dutus also claimed that Depp had a slow raised leg, describing that his vicinity was quite rigid. Says it was a playful tap and not a kick. Dutus denied that Depp was even screaming obscenities. However, this is a bit maybe unreliable because he did say in his witness statements he was wearing headphones, so whether he heard the screams or not, in the text was actually screaming obscenities. This was a text to Paul Bettany. An email was read that Amber Heard had wrote herself at 11:32 p.m. on the 25th of May 2014. It is very important that you know the time as I read this email out. I just don't know if I can do this anymore. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Half of you I love madly, the other half scares me. I can't take him. I wish I could, but I can't. The problem is I never really know and understand which one I'm dealing with until it's too late. The drinking asserts me that I'm dealing with the monster, the abused, scared, insecure, violent little boy. I just can't tell where the line starts. Also, drugs seem to guarantee I will be forced to deal with the monster as well. Once again is knowing what, how much, and when, which makes all the difference. Sometimes the hangover the morning after is just as bad as the full-on disco bloodbath I've come to expect. You live in a world of enablers. You cut out and resent whether you realize it or not. Everyone who isn't an enabler. I watched yesterday as everyone around you picked you up off the floor, held you up, got you on with your life, prevented you from really falling. Yesterday I saw you passed out, vomiting 3 times. All 3 times Jerry had carried you from the floor. On the plane, Nathan mentioned how many times he had to break into the locked doors to wake you up after passing out on the toilet. Nathan, I have no reason I have to stay with you, and I won't. You don't pay me. I don't have to lie to you for my job, livelihoods, or kids. One of these times you cut yourself so badly that you needed stitches. That article is tempting right now. Anyway, this is really long, so I'll just again cut down to the last end. I'm mad, so mad. How would you feel if you were sold false goods? I fell for you while you were sober, a whole year. How could I know this was the lay in store for me? How dare you make me fall in love with you? Present this other self, your good half, only to rip the mask off once I was in. I feel like the biggest idiot in the world. I would have to put up so much. You have hit me repeatedly. Again, let me repeat that. You have hit me repeatedly. Something you should never have done. What a effing man you are. None of this will be possible without the booze and drugs. None. This invalidates all of her testimony because she says that he's been sober for a year, but the claims that she made to the therapist was that he was drinking for a year. This invalidates all those claims now because she wrote here that he's been sober for a year. This was 2012 when she began dating. So if we were to take this as truth, all those that she told to her therapist, saying what he was doing in terms of him not being able to do it because he was drunk, etc., it just wouldn't have happened if this content, the contents was to be true. If this was a day after being kicked, you are in the privy of your own head and your own space. Why can't you just say that he kicked you on the plane last night? It's not here. I was actively looking for that because it's contemporaneous, and I will get more into the kick. The fact that she was reminded of this kick by Steven Dutas, if this was an actual kick that actually meant a literal kick, it would be here. It is also in the realm of possibility that he was taking opiates on that day, and he was on the plane, and he was experiencing everything that he was experiencing from Amber Heard, rendering him to go into the bathroom, for him to want to break up with her on the 27th of May. That prompted the text message from her. This was the first breakup attempt that's actually recorded by Depp. God knows what happened. Amber Heard was back in the picture, and they had no more broken up. Ayo did testify that after the incident, the next day from the 24th, that Depp said to him that he doesn't remember much of being on the plane. When you look at the text messages of where the kicking text comes from, you will see the complete context being provided. And it was Steven Dutas communicating with Amber Heard. In fact, it was almost ironclad that he was with Depp, because he does record that he is with him. This is the same message that was in 19 March Discourse, but this same message kind of throws a spanner in the works of Ayo's testimony of seeing Depp and actually being with Depp, even having a communication with him, because for this to happen, you must have been with Steven Dutas as well. Steven was clearly with him from AM to PM. The text says he doesn't remember much. I mean, placation does have merit here, as clearly does remember. You can see his texts before Steven even messages what he messages. Depp messaging Amber at 10 and at 12 respectively, apologizing and this is going back to the 25th of May. Steven texts at 3:45 p.m. Now, I could be naive. Does it seem like he does not remember much from the flight, or is this, as Depp said, an attempt to establish contact? Have many thought why he was so resigned to breaking up the following days after this? He's just more likely than not, he saw the message here from Amber Heard saying that she doesn't know if she could stay. It must be noted that Raquel, who has been Amber's friend since 2003, provided no testimony for this particular incident. Now, Kate James also provided testimony in the UK and the VA proceedings. In the US, she testified to seeing Ayo, Raquel, and Amber at the Chateau Marmont. But moving on, that's not the important part. Despite my skepticism of these notes, May the 13th, 2014 still does remain an account that does pique my interest, because it does reference James Franco. The fight on the plane was about James Franco. Despite Depp denying shouting and screaming obscenities, which it does say he does do from his own texting, he does not deny the jealousy. So let's really dig into this kick. And I know this is very nitpicky, but I'm not going to shy from this because a lot of commotion has been made in regards to this particular kick. This text messages have been shared everywhere. But we need to go back into the context of this particular audio that I'm using as an example that no kicking occur. The context of this entire conversation, and on top of this, was at 15 minutes into the audio, before the plane kick was even mentioned.
The plane, I thought, this is it. We're dead. After the plane, we're fucking dead. I don't know how to look at her anymore. I don't know how to feel anymore. I don't know. Again, what you think of an argument where you didn't say shit, I mean, again, I'm sorry, but there were people out the door, right outside the door, who heard everything.
In Toronto? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Then get them in the room right now, the mystery help that you keep referencing, and have them sit in front of me. I want to hear someone tell me what I said to you, because still I have yet to hear one thing. I called you spineless at the end of one fight, and I called you a coward. No, I said spineless and pussy. Those were two names that I called you, and I told you what you were doing was spineless, and I called you a pussy, and I said I was sorry, and I meant it, but it was at the end of a fight. I had been fucking provoked to no end, prodded, poked, kicked. I had heard every nasty thing you could think of saying to a woman before that comment came out.
This is not me gaslighting you. That is literally her usage of the word. After mentioning it earlier in the timestamps, the times he used the word was literally again correcting the record.
I buried it. Your wife didn't take more than 5 seconds, more than 10 minutes of your time in all those mornings. And I understood you had something very important going on, and I wanted to support you, but I was dying on the inside, dying. I have never felt so depressed about our situation ever. I have had resolve before. I have walked away from you when you're drunk and fucked up and did things that are like, but Toronto was like the plane the plane where you kicked me. It was so bad and so unprovoked.
Wait.
Sorry.
The plane when I kicked you. You can't just reference it like with the plane that I kicked you.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Like the one from a long time ago.
It's on the tape recorder. If you're going to say that I kicked you, you'll say everything else you did.
On the plane that I'm talking about is the plane from Boston. I did nothing to you. I mean, everyone can attest. Everyone will back it up. I did nothing to you that time. You were fucked up. You're real fucked. I'm talking about the long time ago. That was the only time in my relationship with you. Remember, I went back to New York that I felt so unsure about us. It was after Toronto. And I sat on that all week and cried every fucking day.
It was after Toronto. When? This Toronto? I didn't kick you on the fucking plane.
I know. I said that was the only other time in our relationship that I felt like this.
Regarding kicking the door, he's speaking literally. The kicking of the door to his head, that's literal. The correction of the record to say, I didn't kick you on a plane, that's literal. When she mentions kicking, have to now look at, okay, how many times has he mentioned kicking in the literal sense, and how many times has she mentioned kicking in the literal sense? When you look at this, especially with the context that we have received, prodding, kicking, etc., all these are action words attached to emotions. So we have to now ask the question, how many times has she actually alleged literal kicking by Depp? The reason why I say is in regards to him splitting is because in the same audio he says, well, on a plane, I can't split.
I'm not going to be in a physical fucking altercation.
Don't.
You fucking hit me last night. You fucking...
Well, all the other times you spoke. Come on, you cannot act like that. It's about that. It's not.
Well, on a plane, I can't.
No, and you hit back. So don't act like you don't fucking participate.
Push you.
I'm not going to get into the details of that fight. You and I both know that you split your nerves necklace with the Bible.
That's the context to the kicking. Because again, he knows her. He knows how she talks. He has to placate a little bit because she's quite emotional and she uses a lot of metaphors to kind of get his point across. He understands this, but to us listening in on this audio, it's very difficult to kind of decipher what's going on. I think there's enough evidence here to actually understand that the splitting that he was speaking about was only one plane, and that's Boston to California, because he was trying to split on that plane, like literally go to the bathroom. As he said, I'm going to the bathroom. We have the audio from Amber Heard even proving he was in the bathroom he was splitting from her from, but his opiate actually kicks in at this point. So when it comes to this particular kicking, we get the understanding that, for one and only thing, that that the kicking on the plane was more leaning towards Depp's side. Now, Depp did say that it was a playful tap and not necessarily a clip. So you can maybe put that down to abuse and say, yeah, they're talking about abuse. I just don't think Amber even agrees with you, because again, she doesn't reference that event as if it was something that she was actually kicked. She references that event for the mean words he said about her. That's what she's concerned about. The context to when even writing her own letter, she doesn't reference this kick. She says, you hit me. That's a massive departure from kicking. So what's the hitting that she's referring to? Because she uses the same word in the same list of words, of action words that has been listed. So again, I have no idea. Just to be clear, the only reason I believe that it was a playful tap is, again, with someone that is as emotional like this. And I'm not saying that because of her gender. I'm just saying that because that's what I'm seeing. She is very easily hurt by words, etc., which is unfortunate, but it is a reality that has to be acknowledged. That is the case. So a little thing like even that would make her react in a manner that would seem like the earth has frozen over, and it would be bad for her. It would be blown out of proportion because she is very reactive to every single thing. It seems a lot more plausible that it was a playful tap. Steven saw a playful tap. Keenan White didn't really see anything, but I could pretty much figure that out as him just dozing off after listening to his music. Those are the eyewitness accounts, coupled with communications or absence thereof. You may also believe her accounts in the self-reported therapist notes or what she claims on the stand, and I wouldn't fault you for doing so. It was quite emotionally charged, etc. I will conclude this here. The evidence is there.
The way depositions, because they're so important in impeaching witnesses or calling out inconsistent statements or even using parts of them for whatever you're trying to use them for in the case, whether it's a motion, an appeal, during trial, the page and line numbers are always the most important part. Page number is where that says 43 at the top right. Then you have each line number on the left. So you would say page 43, lines 1 through 3 is what we're referencing, which again, so if you're going to play it to match it up with that. And the red squares or rectangles and the highlights can be done for a couple reasons. Lawyers can do that if those are parts that they are going to reference, number one. Number two, if you chop certain parts and are going to put them into trial, it's only a fraction of what actually happens in the deposition. There's so many things that come out that end up being irrelevant or inadmissible at trial that you're not going to use. So that's sometimes how they notate on a deposition, this is what we're going to play. And sometimes they will play the video depo and the words at the same time. So you have it notated like this. So whoever's going to push play knows where we're going to start, where we're going to stop, all of the highlighted language each side agrees to. If one side doesn't agree, they get this turned over to them so that they can say, listen, I don't agree with page 44, lines 4 and 5. And that goes in front of a judge as an objection. and the judge makes the call whether or not it's going to stay in the video or come out of the video. If it's going to come out, they'll pull it. They won't highlight it. They'll do just half a page in a square and then the bottom half of the page, leaving out just those 2 line numbers. So those notations are just for a lawyer or court's reference, and sometimes to be played as part of the transcript.
Are judges present for depositions?
No, judges are not. Well, for the vast majority of depositions, no, unless it's highly contested. Somebody doesn't show up, there's a big fight beforehand, and a judge has to be there because both sides are objecting too much, and the only way to do it is to have a judge there. Very unusual, but it can happen.
Can appellate judges see this deposition as well?
So appellate judges can only consider things that happened in the trial.
Okay.
So the only thing outside of the trial, like in this case, that appellate judges can consider is evidence that the judge did not allow in, that Ms. Heard's side proffered or read into the transcript. If it was read into the transcript, regardless as to whether or not that appellate judge thinks it's hearsay, they can consider it if it's part of the record. So if it was presented to them like this, with the box and the highlights, they would consider it as it is, as it came in a trial.